This footage is taken on the night that a wanted criminal stalks his victim before sexually assaulting and killing her.
Jordan McSweeney, you're under arrest for rape and murder of a female at Cranbrook Road, okay, on the 26th of June 2022 in the early hours of the morning.
The events that took place in the early hours of June 26, 2022, represent one of the most horrific crimes in recent British history, made all the more tragic by the systematic failures that should have prevented it. This is the final diary entry of Zara Aleena. Zara Aleena was 35 years old and finally living her dream. She was a law graduate who had just started working at the Royal Courts of Justice, 5 weeks into what should have been the beginning of a brilliant legal career. Her family described her as the center of their community, someone who brought joy to everyone around her. Zara was friendly, caring, and had what her loved ones called a carefree soul. She never stepped back from helping anyone in need. She lived with her family and was known for being incredibly close to them. At 35, Zara was exactly where she wanted to be in life, pursuing her passion for law and surrounded by people who adored her. Her family said she was going to grab her dream, becoming a solicitor and making her mark on the legal world. Everything she had worked for was finally within reach. Jordan McSweeney was 29 years old and had spent most of his adult life in and out of prison. He was a career criminal with 28 convictions for 69 crimes, with a history of violence, theft, racial offenses and harassment, who seemed incapable of living peacefully in society.
It's on fire. Told you I'm onto you, fam. You can't with me, fam. Look.
What makes this case particularly infuriating is that McSweeney should have been in prison when he murdered Zara. He had been released just days earlier and had already committed multiple offenses that triggered his immediate recall. These included theft and harassing women. The police went to his mother's address, but he wasn't there, so they gave up. With his freedom still intact, this left him able to roam the streets of East London, looking for defenseless women to attack. This takes us to the evening of June the 25th, 2022, where both Zara and McSweeney were out in Ilford, completely unaware that their paths would soon cross with devastating consequences. Zara had been enjoying a night out with friends at a bar on High Road, close to Ilford railway station. It was a normal Saturday night. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous, just a young professional relaxing after a busy week at work. At 2 a.m, she left the bar to walk home. The route was familiar, up Cranbrook Road and past Valentine's Park Fairground. It was a journey she had made countless times before, always safely. A few hours earlier, McSweeney had been thrown out of a Wetherspoons pub for harassing patrons and trying to grope a female member of staff. Zara had also visited this pub earlier in the night and could have potentially witnessed this. He was drunk, possibly high on drugs, and now hunting in the streets with predatory intent. CCTV footage would later show McSweeney's disturbing behavior throughout the night. He was lurching in the road, nearly being hit by cars, and most chillingly, following and stalking other lone women. At 12:05, clearly intoxicated, he crosses the road and is almost hit by 3 separate vehicles. If only one of them had hit him. Here, he finds his first target, a female on her way home from work. He's practically walking on her heels, and his sloppy attempts of stalking spook her. The woman cleverly seeks safety inside an off-license. With multiple people around, you'd think she'd be safe. Jordan doesn't care. He follows her in anyway. Soon leaves without buying anything. He uses the few brain cells he has to improve his plan, choosing to hide behind cover to appear as if he left the area. After assuming she's in the clear, she leaves the shop. It doesn't take long for Jordan to appear from the shadows. At this point, she knows her life is in grave danger if she doesn't shake him off immediately, and so turns down a side street and sprints away at full speed. I wonder if this stranger across the street wasn't around. Would Jordan be sprinting after her? Luckily, she escapes. This pursuit lasted 21 minutes, and the woman has never been identified. This road is a dead end, so she either lived on this street or found a perfect hiding spot. Either way, you can only imagine the chills down her spine the next day when she heard someone had been murdered nearby in the early hours of the morning. McSweeney returns to the main road in search of a second target. It doesn't take him long. A couple of meters, in fact. He spots a woman inside Laker's chicken shop and enters, stares at her, and puts his hands down his trousers, touching himself. There were other men inside the shop. He follows her down this road, only making it as far as this community center. Instead, spotting another woman where this extremely bizarre encounter takes place. He puts his arm around her and his hand between her legs. They both then walk down a side road. Eventually, she walks away. This woman was never identified, and it is unknown if he knew her or not. He continued to prowl the area for another 50 minutes, eventually finding another potential victim at almost 2 a.m. Despite being only minutes from his caravan at the Kids World Fairground on Valentine's Park, he decides to pursue her immediately. She clearly becomes aware of his presence, with his heavy footsteps and labored breathing no doubt giving him away. He speeds up to get closer. By this point, he's literally inches away from her. Two men, and even the cat across the road, can see something is wrong. Worryingly, they decide not to step in and walk away in the opposite direction. It's clear to see that he's turning his drunken walk on and off at will, perhaps trying to seem less calculated. Actually, he overtakes her and hides in one of the gardens nearby to jump out and grab her. Gratefully, she arrived at her house before she arrived at McSweeney. Frustrated, and once again made his way back to Cranbrook Road. Seemingly out of options, he took this route as he made his way now finally back home to the fairground. Statingly, he never made it that far. It was by an agonizing coincidence that Zara walked past the entrance of the Valentine's Park fairground, just as McSweeney got back to the main road. The route that Zara took home from Champ's Bar. on the way home to her grandmother's house. Created and desperate at this point, Jordan followed Zara for all of 600 meters before dragging her into a driveway, beginning his devastating assault on her. But next was captured in horrifying detail by these two cameras overhead. The following details are upsetting, so if you'd rather not hear it, feel free to skip ahead. McSweeney grabbed Zara from behind with both arms, one covering her mouth, the other around her neck, dragged her backwards into the paved driveway, completely off the street, where no one could see what was happening. Zara fought desperately, but she was no match for McSweeney's size and violent determination. The attack lasted 9 minutes in total. He returned twice in that time. 9 minutes of unimaginable horror that ended the life of a brilliant young woman who had done nothing wrong. He later said the only reason he killed her was because she fought back. Zara suffered 46 separate injuries. The pathologist described blunt force trauma to her head, chest and genital area. She had been sexually assaulted and stomped to death just meters from her own home. McSweeney left Zara's broken body in that driveway and simply walked away. Here he is immediately following the attack. In his hands are Zara's leggings, underwear, keys, phone and purse. I have no words. After disposing of her belongings, he returns home to his caravan to carry on life as normal. To think this savage predator lived meters away from hundreds of children playing every day is terrifying. In his violent frenzy, McSweeney had left 2 bloody fingerprints on the gate at the scene, physical evidence that would lead directly back to him within hours. Just as Jordan was getting home and tucking into his pot noodle, Zara was discovered by 2 traumatized couples walking past the garden. But sadly, following 5 hours of surgery, she was pronounced dead. Her cause of death was prolonged neck compression and damage to the brain. Police immediately began analyzing the extensive CCTV footage from the area. The trail of evidence was clear and damning. Here he is casually disposing of bloody evidence the next morning. Realizing he's still in the same vest too, he takes it off in the middle of the park and puts it in the bin next to the ticket office. Even getting his breakfast came before hiding evidence, showing how little he truly cared about his actions. Within 36 hours, officers arrived at Valentine's Park. The forensic evidence was overwhelming. Zara's belongings were found sloppily hidden. His DNA and clothing was retrieved, and the crystal clear CCTV footage showing every moment of his hunt. Here's the full body cam footage of the arrest.
Jordan. 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 Jordan McSweeney.
Cuffs on, yeah?
Can you stand up for us, mate?
Just tell him.
You're under arrest for rape and murder of a female at Cranbrook Road, okay, on the 26th of June 2022 in the early hours of the morning. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court, anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand? Right, stand up for us then, mate.
During his arrest, Jordan showed the same callous indifference he had displayed while murdering Zara. No remorse, no explanation, no acknowledgement of the life he had stolen. It's 4 p.m. at this point, and he clearly had another heavy night. So we can only be grateful he didn't repeat his actions of the previous night. The investigation revealed the full extent of the system failures that had led to this tragedy. McSweeney had been released from prison just over a week prior, despite a history that should have kept him locked up. His paperwork to be recalled to prison was ignored on a desk for 2 days. These 2 days would have given the police enough time to locate Jordan and arrest him before he robbed Zara of her future. An inquest found the probation service's system for assessing and managing risk not fit for purpose. Since 2010, criminals on probation have committed over 750 murders. Jordan was classed as medium risk, despite convictions for grievous bodily harm and robbery in 2021. A probation officer had already warned in 2018 that any further violence should raise his risk to the highest level. He wasn't assigned a probation officer until just 9 days before release, leaving no time for proper assessment. Crucial reports on his violent behavior weren't shared, so no risk review was done. As a result, his probation plan was weak. With proper measures, he could have faced tougher controls like a GPS tag and curfew. After release, he missed 3 probation appointments, triggering recall to prison. But this was delayed for 2 days due to a heavy workload. The record of abusing women was already severe before this attack. A former partner, who was with him from ages 14 to 18, said she feels lucky to be alive. He left her battered and bruised after dozens of assaults. She recalled how he would often force her to the ground, stomping on her head until it bounced off the floor. On one occasion, she was rushed to A&E and told she was lucky not to lose her eyesight. She described him as a Jekyll and Hyde character, violent in private, yet able to switch personas. Alongside the physical abuse, he also humiliated her in front of friends whenever possible. This picture seized from his phone also suggests he was a drug dealer that regularly carried a knife. When the case came to trial, he initially pleaded not guilty, forcing Zara's family to endure months of additional suffering as they prepared for a trial that would relive every horrible detail. But faced with the overwhelming evidence against him, Jordan eventually changed his plea to guilty. He admitted sexual assault and murder, finally accepting responsibility for his crimes. At his sentencing hearing, Jordan showed his true cowardice. He refused to come out of his prison cell to face the judge or hear the impact statements from Zara's devastated family, stating that he didn't want to relive the events of Zara's murder. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 38 years, though this was later reduced to 33 years on appeal, as the judge decided he had imposed too high of an uplift to McSweeney's minimum term. A decision that rightfully outraged Zara's family and women's rights advocates. These activists showed their support outside the court during the sentencing. After, Zara's aunt gave this beautiful but heartbreaking speech.
Zara's life was senselessly and brutally crushed. And today, like every other day, we live with the horror she was forced to face. Zara was the light, the warmth, the bird song, the laughter in our family. We live with a profound loss each day, and each day we are destroyed a little more. We are deeply touched by the kindness we have felt from so many, and this is testament to the power of Zara's spirit. Thank you.
This case takes another disturbing turn, as Haley Jones, a 33-year-old prison teacher working at HMP Belmarsh, would plead guilty to having an inappropriate relationship with McSweeney. How anyone can find this disgusting murderer desirable is beyond comprehension.
Excuse me, can we get a pass, please? Thank you.
She covers her face leaving the courthouse as she tries to stay anonymous. But not to worry, I've got a picture here for you. Her aunt, Farah Naz, became a powerful advocate for women's safety and criminal justice reform. She refused to let Zara's death be forgotten or become just another statistic. The case sparked national conversations about women's safety, the failures of the probation system, and the need for better protection for lone women walking home at night. The tragedy of Zara Aleena's murder goes far beyond the evil of one man's actions. It represents a cascade of system failures that allowed a dangerous predator to roam free when he should have been behind bars. Zara was just 2 minutes from her front door when McSweeney attacked her. 2 minutes from safety, from her family, from the life she had worked so hard to build. The proximity to home makes this case even more heartbreaking, and even more chilling is how random it was. Zara wasn't targeted specifically. She was simply the unlucky woman who crossed paths with a predator who should have been in prison. On the 3rd anniversary of her death, a vigil took place to honor the memory of Zara. Hundreds of mourners wore white and safely walked Zara back to her family home. It was as much a protest as it was a vigil, as they demand action to reduce violence against women and girls across the nation. As we remember Zara Aleena, we remember not just a victim of senseless violence, but a brilliant young woman who was on the verge of making her mark on the world. Her legacy lives on through her family's advocacy work and through the changes being demanded to prevent other families from suffering the same devastating loss. Rest in peace, Zara. Your dreams may have been cut short, but your memory continues to fight for the safety and justice you deserved in life. If you enjoyed this video, I'd hugely appreciate it if you could leave me a like. And if you want to see similar content from me, don't forget to subscribe. I'll leave you with some words on Zara, from her Aunt Farah as she remembers her fearless niece.
Zara was incredibly giving, supportive, insightful as to what people needed around her, empathic and fearless. She had the one word that would describe Zara, if I had to use one word, I would say independent. That was what she valued more than anything, her independence. And so, you know, she was encouraged by all of us to pursue her dreams. And at 5 years old, she said, I want to be a lawyer. I don't know why she said, I want to be a lawyer, but she just plucked that out. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a lawyer. So we said, okay, then you be a lawyer. And so that's what we all encouraged her. She was on that road. And she was quite different to the rest of us because Zara didn't have fear. She really didn't have fear. And I think, you know, my sense of Zara, she didn't have fear because she knew everybody. And so she made herself at home wherever she was.